This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
I'm Nicola Coughlan, and for BBC Radio 4, this is history's youngest heroes. Rebellion, risk, and the radical power of youth.
She thought, right, I'll just do it. She thought about others rather than herself.
12 stories of extraordinary young people from across history.
There's a real sense of urgency in them, that resistance has to be mounted, it has to be mounted now.
Follow history's youngest heroes wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, I'm Joya Putnoy, a production assistant here at Wonder Media Network, and I'm so excited to be guest hosting this episode of Womanica. This month, we're talking about cultivators, women who nurtured, cross-pollinated, experimented, or went to great lengths to better understand and protect the natural world. In order to truly understand nature, you don't have to be a scientist. Today's Womanican proved that curious wanderers can make meaningful contributions to the study of the natural world, if they're willing to embrace it. A simple walk through your neighborhood and careful observation of your surroundings can go a long way. That's exactly what led this woman to become a pioneer of American nature writing. So get out your notebook and step outside. Let's meet Susan Fenimore Cooper. Susan was born on April 17, 1813, in Scarsdale, New York, the second child of Susan Delancey and James Fenimore Cooper. Her father was a novelist and the son of William Cooper, the founder of Cooperstown, a prosperous settlement in New York State. And Cooperstown is where Susan grew up. She had fond memories of her childhood spent in the family's large red farmhouse built by her grandfather. Young Susan, or Sue as her father called her, relished the natural world. You'd often find her gazing out at the lake and vast valleys which surrounded the family home. She spent considerable time between church and the quaint parlor, where she learned to read and sew. By 1826, the Cooper family had grown to 4 daughters and a son, and were off to Europe, where they'd live for the next 7 years. While they traveled all over the continent, Paris was their home base. As a private school student there, Susan studied language, literature, world history, geography, and botany, among other subjects. When the family returned to the U.S. in 1833, she was well-read and eager to express her intelligence through writing. A skilled wordsmith, her father encouraged her interests. The two were very close, and throughout her 20s, Susan took the role of assistant to her father's writing career. He'd become well known for adventure novels like The Pioneers and The Last of the Mohicans. In them, details from the culture and landscape of Cooperstown are interwoven with fiction. Susan followed in his footsteps. She began her literary career by writing fictional short stories in the 1840s. These tales eventually blossomed into her first full-length novel, Eleanor Willis, a romance mystery. Bolstered by his reputation in the publishing industry, Susan's father made haste to New York City, manuscript in hand, and sold the book to publishers in London and Philadelphia. Eleanor Willis was published in 1846 under the pseudonym Amabel Penfeather. Susan's father was listed as her editor. As for her foray into nature writing, that story begins with Susan's grandparents. In a diary entry from 1883 titled Small Family Memories, she reflects on their affinity for nature. Her grandmother had a penchant for florals and kept a meticulous garden. She remembers piling into her grandfather's farm wagon with her siblings and driving into the woods. She writes, "In these drives, he taught me to distinguish the different trees by their growth and bark and foliage. This was a beech, that an oak, here was an ash, yonder a tulip tree." He would point out a tree and ask me to name it, going through a regular lesson in a very pleasant way. Susan channeled these early experiences and began keeping field notes in the spring of 1848. For the next year, Susan went out every day and ambled around the landscape of Cooperstown, foraging and capturing aspects of the seasonal changes in her diary. Her writing celebrated the simple beauty of country living and connected plants and wildlife to the cultural history of the region. On an afternoon drive, she came upon a flowering thorn tree. She noted that, during the war, the long spines of the thorn were occasionally used by the American women for pins. On one particular warm and soft Saturday, she wrote, "The birds are in an ecstasy." Goldfinches, orioles, and bluebirds enliven the budding trees with their fine voices and gay plumage. All busy, all happy, all at this season more or less musical. Her consistent immersion in the flora and fauna also made her acutely aware of declining wildlife populations and native plants, which she called out in her writing. This nature journal became Susan's most celebrated literary work. Called Rural Hours, it was published anonymously in 1850 by a lady. Again, her father negotiated the book deal, and Susan withheld her identity, likely in line with the tradition of modesty upheld by some women authors at the time. Rural Hours was unique in its quiet, charming musings on the environment. Today, Susan is recognized as one of the first American women to publish this kind of nature writing. Upon its completion, Susan's father wrote in a letter, "I have now very little doubt of its ultimate success, though at first the American world will hesitate to decide." Rural Hours did find success and went on to be republished 9 times in Susan's lifetime. Some scholars say that Rural Hours inspired the widely acclaimed Walden by Henry David Thoreau, which came several years later. A year after Rural Hours was published, Susan lost the very person who helped make the book possible, her father. After his death, Susan took charge of his literary estate, editing his diaries and unpublished articles and writing introductions to the reprints of his many novels. From then on, her personal writing endeavors slowed. With the onset of the Civil War, she set her sights on community outreach. Susan led the founding and operations of a local hospital and orphanage. In the sunset of Susan's life, she published the occasional essay and wrote stories for children. By the 1880s, she seldom pursued nature writing. Instead, her work illuminated her views on domestic life and shifts in societal values. Susan held fast to traditional ideas about gender roles, citing her faith as the firm backbone of these opinions. In her writing from this time, you'll see that she greatly opposed the fight for women's rights, particularly women's suffrage. Susan never married and lived out a quiet life in the Cooperstown cottage she shared with her sister. She died on December 31st, 1894, due to a stroke. Rural Hours has been republished twice since Susan's death and remains a delightful invitation offered to those whose interest in rural objects has been awakened, a sort of rustic primer, which may lead them, if they choose, to something higher. All month, we're talking about cultivators. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Jenny and Liz Kaplan for having me as a guest host. Talk to you tomorrow.
Spring is in the air, and at Minky Couture, we're celebrating this joyful season with warmth, love, and the softest, coziest blankets. Whether you're cuddling up after an Easter egg hunt or gifting a little extra comfort to someone special, our luxury blankets make every moment even sweeter. From our Minky family to yours, Happy Easter! May your day be filled with love, laughter, and all the cozy moments you can dream of. Visit us online at minkycouture.com or stop by one of our stores to find your perfect Minky hug today.
I'm Nicola Coughlan, and for BBC Radio 4, this is history's youngest heroes. Rebellion, risk, and the radical power of youth.
She thought, right, I'll just do it. She thought about others rather than herself.
12 stories of extraordinary young people from across history.
There's a real sense of urgency in them, that resistance has to be mounted now.
Follow History's Youngest Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.